Hello and welcome to the Join Dota League Season number 3 here on HeflaTV 1. This is going to be a best of 2 series in the Asia Division 1 between Invasion and Immunity. Well, I don't usually get the pleasure of seeing these teams play very often, as usually I'm asleep or casting other Dota. But I don't know, it should be a pretty even game. I'm hoping for at least some good Dota. I mean, that's the least that you can hope. As for your caster today, I'm Grandisv, and unfortunately I won't be joined by a co-caster, but that's just how it's gotta be. You know, every once in a while it happens. So here into the game we go, and as far as the early bans are concerned, nothing too unconventional, with the Doom Faceless Void banned out by Immunity and Invasion. They're going to ban out the Brewmaster, and I expect the Lycan to be banned. Although maybe they're comfortable with running up against a Radiant Lycan. Even on the Radiant side, still a very dangerous hero to give away to the enemy team, and they're going to do so. With the Death Prophet banned out, Lycanthrope first pick for Immunity would make a whole lot of sense to me, although maybe Invasion have something in mind for it. It's not a hero that gets through very often, but when it does, it's either snagged up very quickly or ignored altogether. If Immunity don't snag up, they'll Lycanthrope and opt for something that they're more comfortable with. Razor, potentially, Scarlet Mage, Shadow Shaman, any of the other supports or heroes along those lines. They might be running into a dire Lycan on Invasion, which would be incredibly scary to play up against, and I'm not sure they'd want to do so, so I'd expect it to be picked here, but they're gonna take their time with this, as it's just not something that they have to consider very often, as usually the team that has second pick is going to ban that out 99 times out of 100. So yeah, they are going to take their time for this first pick. Yeah, Invasion, there is a little bit of mind games coming out from this move to leave the Lycanthrope in, and it's going to be a first pick Razor for Immunity. It's going to be a very strong hero in most senses, but it is going to allow Invasion to just go all into the push before Razor actually gets online. Plasma Field, of course, is nice as counter push to clear out the creep waves, which is very useful up against a Lycan-based push. But then again, alone, it's not enough. They have plenty of picks to deal with it if Invasion go for it. But yeah, this might just be one of the games where it's completely ignored.
10 seconds.
I don't know, Invasion are going to take their time, potentially expecting Immunity to take up that Lycanthrope, and they had some sort of first two picks up against a Lycan that they'd want to try out, or they're just very comfortable with running. But then again, we are just going to have to wait to see where they're going to go with this. Other than that, the Razor, he's going to transition into a bit of a pushing monster himself, but not until later on in the game, when he picks up an Aghanim Scepter and the BKB, and eventually a Refresher Orb. That's when he really starts kicking into high gear as far as pushing is concerned, but even before then, his teamfight presence is still pretty strong, especially if he gets a long duration link off. The Razor is going to be a potent threat, and probably going to be the mech carrier for his team. All around just a solid hero. This draft is starting off very slowly, which it's gonna make it pretty hard to talk about a draft that's not actually going on. Yeah, both teams have eaten through almost half a minute of their reserve time. Immunity, a little bit less than Invasion, but Invasion, they have to pretty much angle the draft with these two picks, and it's gonna be first pick Ancient Apparition. Very peculiar. They still have another pick to go for the Lycanthrope, but they might just completely ignore it. If they go for the Lycan, and they're not going to, they're going to go for the Wraith King instead. Okay, well, throw that thought out of the window. As Ancient Apparition Wraith King is the first two for Invasion, it's going to give them a pretty solid supporting duo, but then again, it's really weird to see them ignore the likes of Shadow Shaman, as well as Skyrath Mage and Earthshaker. This might be a core Wraith King. It's one of the nice things about the hero is you always have that option to run him in the different positions. So the Wraith King might be thrown into a different role than we're used to seeing him, although I'm kind of hoping that this is just a support Wraith King. If they wanted the support, they might have just gone for the Earthshaker. It looks like Lycan is just going to be completely ignored. As odd as that is to say, it does happen every once in a while. If it's not banned out, we still have the potential for it to be picked up on either team. But then again, maybe it's not even going to be picked up then. Skyrath Mage, the ban from Invasion Esports, is that would probably be the best support to pair with the Earthshaker that they have. The slow from Concussive Shot into the Earthshaker Fissure is wonderful, and just the sustained damage from Skyrath Mage is really potent in the early game, and scales pretty well later as well. Viper, the ban, coming out from Immunity Dota, one of the heroes that can trade pretty evenly and win up against a Razor, depending on the players behind the heroes in that matchup. Would have fit the bill as far as Invasion picking up a mech carrier for themselves and would have worked pretty well. This Ancient Apparition Wraith King, I'm kind of hoping that it's going into an aggressive tri-lane for them. As I think those heroes would get a whole lot better if they're put into that situation. So the Chilling Touch from Ancient Apparition gets exponentially better. And, well, the Wraith King also going to be pretty solid in that scenario. Lycanthrope still left in the pool, and as long as I'm harping on it, well, we're going to have Invasion picking up a Venomancer, so they might be going for some push of their own, but that just could be our tri-lane coming out from Invasion Esports, and it would be a scary one at that. Venomancer, Ancient Apparition, and Wraith King with the Chilling Touch. Start with the Wraithfire Blast, follow up with the Gale, and just click people down with the Chilling Touch would be a very potent way to get kills, even on heroes that are pretty tanky like the Razor. At the early portions, not as much, but you're probably going to expect boots first or something along those lines for the Razor. And base stats aren't that bad. Yeah, it definitely could work out for Invasion Esports. They could just commit fully into the early push with this Venomancer, and it definitely is a pretty solid option for them. Yeah, being able to just mow down the towers before this Razor fully gets online would be amazing. Their counter push is pretty awesome with the Fissure and Plasma Field already, and if they pick up one more spell to clear the Creep Wave Invasion, they might have a little bit of difficulty getting up to the towers with the Creep Wave completely intact. Yeah, so definitely something to consider. Pipe would be awesome for them, potentially built by the Venomancer, although he might decide to go for other items. As Venomancer, I'm going to assume that his build this game, if he is a farming Veno, is going to be pretty similar to the likes of what a Razor or Viper would be bringing to the table. And since Viper was banned out, Venomancer, he can fill his shoes pretty nicely. Although not as scary in the laning phase, is still pretty potent, and will do better in the tri-lane. Yeah, Immunity, they have plenty of picks to deal with this Venomancer pick, but right now I'm kind of liking Invasion Esports lineup. Although Immunity Dota, they have really solid heroes of their own. As far as the next pick for them, the top tier supports have kind of all been taken, with the exception being of the Shadow Shaman, or maybe the Mirana. As Immunity Dota snagged that up for themselves to combo with the Earthshaker. The Fissure into Arrow combo, although not as guaranteed as something like a Shadow Demon Disruption, definitely can be done, and probably something that they practice quite a bit. It's going to give them some power in their own tri-lane, as well as some roaming potential of their own. Will be pretty solid. It's kind of a middle-of-the-road pick. Immunity Dota, they don't have any great synergy outside of the Earthshaker, Fissure into Arrow, but that might be enough as Invasion. Pick themselves up a Clockwork. The global ganking potential coming out from their team is going to be pretty strong, especially if the Wraith King picks up an early Blink Dagger. The initiation from Wraith King into the Ancient Apparition Ice Blast, or the Clockwork Hookshot Cogs into the Ancient Apparition Ice Blast, is a really solid way to get those fights going for themselves. Mirana, although she can leap away, Earthshaker and Razor are going to have quite a bit of difficulty dealing with that, and even the Mirana, if she's caught out with her leap on cooldown, or she's forced to leap away from the Clockwork and then the Wraith King jumps onto her, she's pretty much just going to die. The Venomancer as well as Ancient Apparition combo, although it's not a combo, so to say, it does a ridiculous amount of magical damage to the enemy team, as well as making the Venomancer's magical damage lethal, with the chilling, or with the Ice Blast, giving the Shatter effect. Nature's Prophet, the next pickup for Immunity Dota, will probably be taking up their offlane hero. Another pseudo setup for the Mirana Arrow in the form of the Sprout, but then again, this might be a pretty bad game to be Nature's Prophet. Clockwork and Wraith King can find him around the map pretty effectively, and shut him down. Right now, Invasion, they don't have anything really to carry them into the later portions of this game. And they might want to shore that up. If they really want to invest into the global, they might pick up a Spectre. But then again, we might just see them go super early aggression. Pick up something along the likes of a Jakiro. Yeah, BKB, although it'll come out eventually on your Razor, Mirana, and Nature's Prophet, they're not going to be thinking of picking it up super early on. And I wouldn't be opposed to it, although they'd still be lacking a lot of their setup. The Jakiro is the ban from Immunity, and that's the hero that they're most scared of. Even if they do pick up something different completely, like the Invoker, they're still going to have a lot of pushing power coming up from this team, and now that's going to make their global ganking potential even more. Yeah, I think Invasion Esports lineup, despite not being super well-rounded, it is very potent in the early and mid portions of this game, and I think that's going to be enough for them. However, if Immunity Esports are able to keep them at arm's length and keep them away from their towers, stop from getting picked off, keep the Nature's Prophet and Mirana at arm's length, leap away, blink away, whatever it's going to take to keep those heroes safe, we'll be in a pretty good place. But no, scratch that completely, as they're going to contest the early game from Invasion with a little bit of early game of their own with the Pugna last pick from them. Ooh, we're looking for a pretty clashy game on our hands, and well, into it we are going to go. So yeah, I am solo casting this, so hopefully there are no technical issues on stream. Yeah, so let me go ahead and check that. It looks like we're all good to go, and let me just make a couple of last checks before we actually load into the game. Oh my good heavens. Pugna just made a ridiculous laugh. Either way, I'm not actually loading into the game, and it looks like it's because Immunity have not selected their heroes altogether. Well, come on, get on the ball, Immunity. Let's get into this game. So I have something a little bit more to talk about. As far as how these lanes are going to break down, we're probably looking at a mid-Razor versus Invoker. That matchup, it's not heavily favored towards either side. I think there's not going to be any kills unless we have support rotations, which is a definite possibility coming up from both teams. As far as the players and the heroes that they're playing on the Radiant side, we are going to have Immunity Dota with Cynical handling the Nature's Prophet, looking like he's just going to go towards the off lane. Chains on the Razor, presumably heading towards the mid with, oh my goodness, jDL3 on the Pugna, looking towards the safe lane. The supports are going to be Shatan on the Earthshaker, and Mirana handled by Risk. As far as the Dire side, we are going to have Invasion playing on that side of the map, with ADTR on the Ancient Apparition, OK handling the Venomancer, Kesekimba on the Invoker, Ghost on the Clockwork, and a Wraith King handled by FZFC. Looks like we are going to be seeing a carry Wraith King in this tri-lane. I would have liked to see them put the Venomancer in the farming role there a little bit more. But then again, it's still going to work out for them pretty okay. And speaking of OK, not sure if I've introduced him, but OK is going to be handling that Veno. So yeah, we are going to have Nature's Prophet putting down a pretty deep ward, and the enemy side of the map is going to block the pole camp, or at least I presume it's going to block that pole camp, as well as giving some pretty good vision over the support rotations. So Nature's Prophet, he should be pretty fine in this matchup as long as he doesn't stand forward. But if he stands forward, a Wraithfire Blast into Gale with the Chilling Touch on all three of those heroes will spell his doom very easily. The roaming potential coming out from Immunity is a little bit stronger than the roaming potential coming out from Invasion, as Mirana and Earthshaker, two heroes that kind of want to be roaming when they're paired together. Earthshaker can sit defensively, but Mirana, she wants to hit those arrows. She wants to shoot them at the enemy team and set up those kills in the early game. And if she doesn't, the support Mirana's not really going to be working very well for them, but then again, still offers a decent amount of utility. The Treants are going to be spotted out by OK as well as FZFC, and these Treants just want to find out as much as they can about these lanes. Looks like they're going to avoid dying, although the Venomancer has a death wish for this little Treant there that is going to walk over towards the right. And then this other Treant, it looks like it's going to very cheekily block this camp. And, well, that might hide the fact that there is an Observer Ward. I don't think he's going to be able to kill this before 30 seconds, especially not with the Ancient Apparition in tow. And it looks like the Nature's Prophet might get away with his ward not being dewarded because of this play, which is a good one. Bottom lane, the Clockwork is also not going to have the happiest of times, although the Mirana isn't there, so maybe he'll be just fine. The Dire is going to lose one of their Observer Wards up top and will be denied the Rune Vision for quite a large portion of this early game, although they still have vision over the bottom rune, so it's not all that bad that they lose the top one. Nature's Prophet will have to stay in a very safe spot right now, and at the best can hope to soak experience. But Gale, shot by the Venomancer, is going to completely miss. He is going to be forced to clarity up if he wants to have that Gale, and without the Gale follow-up to the Wraithfire Blast, this Nature's Prophet's going to be a little bit happier with how his lane situation is going to go, at least until the clarity comes out for the Venomancer. Only 15 mana away, even if he doesn't clarity up, will still only be a couple of seconds in coming. Yeah, we are going to see the bottom lane, which is probably going to go in a similar fashion. The Mirana hasn't actually shot an arrow yet, or she has, but it didn't land onto anything. The Earthshaker running the pulling operations, although he needs to be pretty careful up against Ghost. He doesn't have any points in a battery assault, so Shatan, if he knows it or not, is going to be fine. Mid-matchup, I don't expect there to be any kills, and it should all be isolated in our top lane spots. Cynical has found his level 2, and well, if you compare that to the Clockwork's slight edge, but then again, he's working against a dual lane, so I suppose suppose it's to be expected. The runes are going to be sat on by Risk, as well as by OK, and Risk, he's shown his face up here, and it will be an illusion rune. They'll probably sit on for the raid, so now he's going to pick that up for himself, and let's see how he's going to utilize this one. He sits one illusion, just leaves it there, and probably going to send these to scout. I have no idea where. Potentially juking out the Invoker, or at least forcing away Kiilstofte. Kiilstofte is going to run into them and just start right-clicking away at these illusions. Zamrana is up on the high ground, but I'm not sure she's going to be able to do much there. A fairly passive early game where everybody's just kind of sitting in their lanes and trying to get as much as they can if you're an offlaner, and if you're a farming hero, you're doing pretty well. The Pugna not doing as great as the Wraith King, but still looking pretty respectable. The Wraith King pretty much getting unimpeded farms, Nature's Prophet hasn't come up close, and instead of going for the standard, or I say standard, the stats build, he is going to start putting some points to the crit. Kind of standard for your more farming-based Wraith Kings. It used to scale really poorly at level 1, but now 50% at every level. It's perfectly serviceable. Pugna pretty much been left solo versus this Clockwork, which is fine for the Pugna, although the Clockwork's not going to be zoned out of experience range by any stretch of the imagination, which is why he's getting the extra level over the Nature's Prophet. Nature's Prophet just can't do anything. Now with the big wraparound coming out from the Venomancer, as well as the Ancient Apparition, you might be in a little bit of trouble. The Wraith King is going to start running at him, although the Nature's Prophet is going to completely back off, so, I'm not sure this is actually going to net them anything. It looks like the Nature's Prophet knows what's up, and now he definitely does. It's okay. And ADTR are going to show their face to this creep wave, but they'll put some pressure onto the tier 1 tower, so not all is lost. Just a smoke down from Invasion, so no big deal, although they definitely would have liked to come away the first blood richer. It is a catapult wave, but it's not going to kill this tower, I don't think, but slowly but surely they will be able to snag this one, as they are looking for the Clockwork down in bottom. Will they be able to find Ghost, TP away from Cynical? Doesn't have enough damage to do that, and then Clockwork is going to salve himself up, also has another Tango to work with, and Clockwork will be seeing his lane pretty comfortably. Nature's Prophet is completely abandoned his off lanes for all intents and purposes, and, well, now that the Catapult is dead on the side of Invasion, they are going to be slowed down in their attempt to push this tier 1 tower, and it's not going to be that great. But it's going to be pretty much a 3v0 lane. Until the Nature's Prophet shows his face back and he can pull the creep aggro away with his treants, but that's about all that Cynical can do here. We do have an Earthshaker potentially looking for a fissure block onto the Clockwork. If they find the fissure, they might be able to land up an arrow onto Ghost, and it could be a pretty straightforward kill, as he's not looking too healthy in the health department anyway. But yeah, this Mirana just hasn't done very much. She has 2 CS to her name and hasn't hit an arrow. She does find herself level 2 and now looks for the arrow onto the Cogs. Clockwork, Sunstrike going into Earthshaker, cannot get off his fissure in time as the battery assault is operating, and Sunstrike gets the first kill of the game onto the Earthshaker. One of the heroes that you definitely want to get that first blood. The Invoker is going to be very happy with that, and it's going to accelerate him closer towards his Midas. Even though he's not farming the greatest in this game, this Midas is going to come out at a very fast click, especially for Invoker that backed off for Boots and Null Talisman first, which is expected in mid, but we're probably going to be seeing this in about 7 minutes at the latest, unless something drastic happens. And by drastic, I mean he's dying. Yeah, the Earthshaker just found himself in a very awkward situation, and Clockwork is also going to pick up quite a large bit of experience from that kill. Clockwork looking wonderful in this game. Still almost a full level and a half ahead of the Nature's Prophet and getting dangerously close to that level 6 mark. It's going to make Ghost quite a bit more effective. The Pugna as well as the Earthshaker are going to have quite a bit of difficulty when dealing with a hero like that. Cogs from Ghost are going to delay things, but it's just going to set up an arrow as he doesn't juke towards the right, but no follow-up for that. He'll be fine. The fissure was already spent. They don't have enough range damage. The Clockwork Flare is going to delay this, but it's only going to delay this, as the Pugna Blasts eventually are going to take this tier 1 town. I think it's going to be the first one to fall in the game, as the counterpart on the Radiant side isn't healthy by any stretch of the imagination, but then again, it hasn't taken that much pressure as they go into mid. They're looking for the Sunstrike. It's not going to land with the Chilling Touch. The Razor's the one to die. The Venomancer and Ancient Apparition making themselves felt on the map as Invasion notched themselves the second kill of this game, and Kiilstofte almost has his completed Midas. Probably going to come out a little faster than I expected. That's exactly how you have it. Clarity going to be used on the Invoker. Despite losing a lot of his physical damage, the Chilling Touch is still going to come out big. And despite saying that their supporting duo doesn't roam as well, it still is completely serviceable. Fissure is going to block off the Clockwork, because Fissure is invisible on my screen. Every once in a while it happens, but, you know, the effects are still showing, so at least you can see where those are landing. But yeah, Ghost now has his level 6. I might expect him to rotate, but the one who's rotating is Nature's Prophet, looking for the big wraparound. They do get a fissure, and it's going to block off Ghost nicely. He doesn't have anything to juke through those trees. He's going to find himself a little nook and cranny, as now he's blocked him by the creeps. He's not going to fall just yet as they rotate in the Venomancer and Ancient Apparition, but don't come away with the deny. Pugna gets that with the blast. So, no kills going the way of immunity, but still a nice infusion of gold for themselves after getting that tower destruction. So, going to be very useful for them. Wraith King, left alone up top, isn't able to do very much because of it, and I'd like to see this Wraith King get it a little bit more active than he is. It looks like that is the plan, as the action is going down in bottom. I thought they disengaged, but apparently that's not the case, as jDL3 as well as Shaitan are going to fall very low after picking up that Clockwork kill. They traded their Mirana for it, but getting the Clockwork down for 12 seconds is going to be very useful for them, especially since he won't be able to throw out a flare to snipe out the Earthshaker who's running back to base. Sorry about that, guys. I don't have a co-caster to keep me in check, but there you go. Kesekimba does now have his completed Midas, and is going to accelerate in the levels by quite a bit. He is currently at the top of the game, and I don't expect that to change anytime soon. Excuse me. Let me go ahead and clear out my throat as they jump in the mid. Never mind, they're going to bounce him back with the cogs, but Chains is going to be fine. They need that hookshot to land. So excuse me for a minute while I mute my mic. My apologies, so you didn't have to hear me coughing on stream. We are going to have a regeneration when picked up by Ghost, but for the next 50 seconds, they're going to be happy that they don't have to deal with the hookshot, as Shaitan, as well as the Pugna and Mirana, are all grouped up in top, looking to take this tier 1 tower. If they can get an initiation onto FCFC, that would be wonderful. They're going to decryptify to start things off, all up the fissure, looking for the arrow. They aren't going to find the arrow, but the life drain on the sprouted FCFC is going to have to bring him down. The Sunstrike, however, is going to get the kill onto the Pugna, and that's a killing spree for your Invoker. And since the ultimate was on there for Wraith King, it's not going to matter. And now Cynical caught in a very awkward situation, going to be Wraithfire blasted up, and now smacked down by the Mighty King, fishing in style with a crit. They're going to find themselves 2 kills, where immunity just dove a little too hard for that Wraith King ultimate. It is level 1, so it's going to be on cooldown for quite some time, but FCFC is going to be very happy with how that exchange went. Now has his completed Blink Dagger. This Wraith King, it's not the fastest Blink Dagger I've ever seen on safe lane farming hero, but it's definitely a good timing for him. At 9 minutes in, this is going to help him quite a bit. Although he won't be playing as aggressively as maybe he'd like to, it's still going to be completely serviceable. The Wraith King is not going to be playing super aggressive until he gets his ultimate back up, but he can still chip away at this tower with all of his might. The Nature's Prophet putting a little bit of pressure down in bottom. The Rocket Flares are going to slow this down, but it's still going to be a traded tier 1 tower for a little bit of damage on the tier 2. Razor picks up his mechanism, and now immunity, they want to start 5-manning, but they've started out this early game at quite a disadvantage, especially when you consider the Invoker. Nice triple fissure. They're going to get the destruction of the tower and now back off pretty successfully. Nature's Prophet ultimate bounces through, but they don't have any way to initiate besides a straight arrow or fissure into arrow, and with the fissure already spent, it's not going to be enough for them, and Invasion are picking up quite a decent advantage when it comes to the items. Their Venomancer is going to be building the mechanism for their team, although it's not going to be the fastest mech that you've ever seen. Venomancer, 1-0-2, as well as farming decently well for his sport at 14 CS, is still going to find it at a decent timing. Yeah, this Invoker, despite going for the Hand of Midas earlier on, is still going to be quite impactful, especially now that those Sunstrikes are hitting for quite a decent sum. Now with the double Forge Spear Arrow to fly, it's going to land on FCFC. He's going to need a Plasma Field as well, but I don't think they'll be able to commit to this kill, especially not when Clockwork's jumping in. The Sunstrike is going down square onto the Pugna. The Life Drain is doing a lot of damage in return. The Wraith King's going to lose his life. Clockwork, however, is going to be lucky enough to survive. Okay, as well as the Clockwork, a little too low to jump into this, and the Wraith King just caught in a very awkward situation. His Venomancer ultimate going to be land on Single. Now with the Cold Snap, he's not going anywhere. Arrow going to be absorbed by a Forge Spear. 1-for-1 trade it is up in the top lane. That's going to favor immunity, although only slightly, since they really wanted to take this tower. They're not going to be completely forced off, but they might as well have, as this push is probably not going to happen. Wraith King coming back, Venomancer going to be healed up very quickly. They can defend this feasibly. Unless they lose their Invoker, I think they're going to be just fine. They TP back in the Wraith King, and we are going to see a little bit of a fight here, potentially. We do have the blink on the Wraith King, and it looks like immunity are just going to back off. Yeah, Nature's Prophet dying there, not going as planned. Pugna, however, survived a lot longer than they thought he would. Maybe they should have committed a little bit more to the Pugna kill, but that life drain keeping jDL3 alive is very important for them, as the Pugna is pretty much their pushing engine. Although he's not doing that great as far as farm and whatnot is concerned, he's still holding onto a pair of Arcane Boots, some decent stat items to tank himself up, and eventually we're going to see an Aghanim Scepter. He's just going to be offering a lot of those Pugna Blasts. So they hear one go off, but it's just in the jungle. Going to be clearing up a stack for himself, and probably kill this off before the respawn time. And yep, unless those little trees. Oh, he actually didn't kill the big creep. Ooh, not sure if that was spotted out. It looks like it isn't going to spawn, and well, he'll find himself a nasty surprise, or maybe somebody else on his team will find them a nice one, as it might propel them closer to a key item. So we have a rotation from the Clockwork and Venomancer. In the guise of smoke, they're going to find themselves a Mirana. Not the target they really want to find, but they're just going to run her down and try to force out the leap. Leap or not, she's not getting out of there. Sunstrike comes through, gives Keswick Imba a dominating spree. They held on to the Clockwork hookshot, and probably the right move. Yeah, well played by them. They're going to find themselves another opening where they can go more aggressively. As with the hookshot as well as a haste rune, they might be able to find something. Courier, Clockwork, he might look for it. Let's see, he's not going to go for that. It was hasted up, and there really isn't a great opportunity to kill. So, let's just going to scout out your Clockwork and keep everybody on immunity alive. As the Earthshaker is going to play very defensively from here on out. If he gets caught inside the trees, however, he's going to try to TP away. The battery assault, is that going to cancel it? It will not. Does not throw the hookshot in time. The battery assault did not get the tick. I thought for sure that Earthshaker was dead, but it's still going to be a tier 1 tower going the way of Invasion. 2 to 7, Invasion are looking really strong. If you look at the Invoker's net worth, I think that's a completed Necrobook 1 flying to himself on the Courier. Keswick Imba has all of the farm in the world. 4, 0, and 2, 77 CS, and First Blood gold on top of that. Midas running. There's nothing slowing down this Invoker, and I'm not sure that Immunity really have what it takes to kill him, in all honesty. They need an arrow to land onto him with the Pugna damage going. Decrepify would be one of their best tools to burst him down, but even then, Invoker now has Ghost Walk. He's not the squishiest. Let's see, we are going to have a Medallion picked up by the Ancient Apparition, which will make going for Roshan quite a bit easier as they find out the Nature's Prophet. What was he doing? Nature's Prophet walks straight into 2 heroes, gets galed up, and then Cold Snap Forge Spirit's right-click game. A very easy kill that I didn't think would actually happen. I have no idea what his plan was. But there you go. Walking in blind into your own jungle. Not always a safe option when the team is pushing your bottom tier 1. This is probably going to be traded as Pugna's pushing pretty darn fast up top, and mid tier 1 not looking too healthy either. They're going to throw some flares, and now the Glyph comes out from the Radiant side to delay this push. The Glyph is available for the Dire, and okay, now setting up shop in mid. He's going to be able to delay that push. So the tier 1 for tier 1 trade is probably going to be there. Although, there's a chance for deny up top, and they are going to commit up top, looking for the blink. It's not going to happen as Wraith King. He gets visioned up, and now the Pugna Blast, he's going to walk back into it, but he has Reincarnate. He's going to get spread out by the Nature's Prophet. Now give up his Reincarnate for a second time. This Wraith King just hasn't been able to do much. Echo Slime committed onto nothing. Shaitan, the blink away from FCFZ was fast enough, and he's going to completely whiff on that high cooldown ultimate. It's not the biggest deal since he doesn't have his blink dagger, but still, you know, that was very unfortunate for your Earthshaker. Nature's Prophet Treants, they're going to find an arrow on a Ghost. He's just walking into those things. There's no follow-up, luckily enough for him. There is going to be a fissure. It lands on OK as well as on the Ghost. But they won't be able to jump in. Looking for a hookshot potentially as they jump in with the Wraith King. Not going to find close enough as the hookshot's going to land on nothing. So many ultimates were spent and many ultimates were missed. As nobody's actually going to die. Reincarnation for Echo Slam as well as hookshot. Fairly even trade. I'd say that Invasion are going to lose out more than anything. Wraith King, as far as this next item is concerned, let's see. I kind of want to see the Mjolnir coming out from this Wraith King, although Blade Mill's never really a bad option, especially when you're talking about a Pugna. He's going to be taking quite a bit of damage if he's trying to focus down a Wraith King while that Blade Mill is going. Cynical just hasn't really gotten off the ground. He's going for the hyper-aggressive Nature's Prophet build, which under most circumstances isn't bad by any means, but it looks like they're going to just Ancient Apparition Blast Sunstrike. He's dead! Cynical, you're gone! Or is he? I think he's going to tick down. He's not going to tick down. Survives by the skin of his teeth. The Ancient Apparition Ice Blast doesn't land with the burst damage there, and I thought that would be a fairly straightforward kill onto Cynical, but alas, 'tis not so. Ancient Apparition, his ultimate was just off by a little bit, and that's what cost him that kill. Oh, that's unfortunate. If his treads were toggled to int, that would have been a kill. Almost for sure. Into the Roshan Pit, Invasion are going to go with Medallion as well as Forge Spirit is working away at this Roche. It should be a fairly easy one. They also have Venomancer Words, and as long as they don't jump in or land a super good arrow, Immunity aren't going to be able to take this away from them. Although they might be able to take a fight afterwards, I'm not sure they can really contest this Roshan, but it looks like they are sure as hell going to try as they smoke up and look for the wraparound. Pugna going to drop his ward on the backlines. Zero is shot through. Not going to land as Roshan falls Aegis to the Invoker. They drop a Fissure inside the pit. It's going to land nicely on it too as Wraith King blinks forward. He's not going to get enough damage off and doesn't throw a Wraithfire Blast. It's currently just a very awkward standoff. Mech comes out of an invasion as they're kind of stuck inside their own Roshan pit, but they are going to back off as another ward. It's going to be focused down, or will it, by the Necro army as well as the Forge Spirits. Blade Mail picked up by the Nature's Prophet, but free Roshan for invasion. A lot of time used by Immunity to try to contest that, but they don't even go for the fight after the fact. That's a Necro 3. It's 17 minutes in for Kiilstofte. Kiilstofte has all of the farm in the world. Hookshot missed, arrow missed. I'm just going to expect from here on out that everything's just going to miss. Not sure what the servers are like or what's going on today, but it just seems that these initiations aren't lining up for either team. I think that's hurting most of all to Mirana, who's 0-2-2. She just hasn't been able to really do anything. Which is very sad to see. Mirana as a support is quite literally hit or miss. I've said it time and time again, but it doesn't change the fact that it's true. If Mirana hits those arrows, it's an amazing support. If Mirana misses those arrows, it's a mediocre support at best. It's going to be buying wards and offering Moonlight Shadow, which isn't bad by any means, but it's not great. Shadow Shaman would have proved a lot more useful for the tower pushing power, and honestly, I think that would have been a better pick for Immunity, although maybe they're just not as comfortable with it, but I don't see why not. Shadow Shaman was available through every pick of the last game, or through the draft, excuse me. Counter push coming out from both sides. It's going to prove that it's in the favor of Immunity, as they're going to be able to clear the creep wave faster, but then again, it's only going to delay things. Invasion, they're kind of taking this slow and steady as Immunity, with the Pugna pick on their side, they're not taking enough towers to really warrant the pick. They only have 2 tier 1s as Clockwork finds himself a double damage rune. But yeah, they're completely tied in towers, which is going to favor Invasion. I thought Invasion might commit more fully to the pushing lineup, but they're not going to do so, as Kiilstofte, the last pick Invoker, is really working out for Invasion. He just hasn't been punished at all. At all. Highest last hits in the game, probably highest kills, at least highest KDA. Oh yeah, by a large margin, 5-0-2. Kiilstofte, his Sunstrikes have been on the mark pretty much throughout the entire game. There's very few that have missed. Yeah, really on point. Wraith King, I'm not sure the support, or the carry Wraith King is really working out for me here. 1-1-2, Wraith King, he's kind of a hero that wants to get off to a more snowbally start and get his levels up. But now with level 11, we're going to see a new level of aggression, I think, coming out from Invasion. With the Aegis on the Invoker and the Wraith King level 2 ultimate, there's very little reasons why they shouldn't start fighting pretty liberally. The tier 1 tower in mid is probably what they have their eyes set on, but no, it's already been taken down. Whether denied or not, didn't actually see that. Huh. I thought for sure there was a tower there, but no, it was just the heroes chilling around coming out from Immunity. We are going to have Wraith King continue pushing out as Razor finds himself a little nook inside the trees. A very awkward space for Chains to be in, and I'm not entirely sure what he's planning to do, especially with FCT being out. It's going to be some wasted time as Invoker snipes one out. Cogs, Ancient Apparition, as well as the Sunstrike through that Nature's Prophet, getting caught out time and time again. Just not a happy place for him to be in. And now, with that Nature's Prophet down and all of the other heroes committed to other sides of the map, they can push down this tier 2 tower, although not super comfortably. They'll still be able to do so and put some pretty major hurt into this tier 2. Let's see, Invoker, Ancient Apparition, Ice Blast, going to completely miss. Unfortunate as he goes on the Earthshaker. Oh my goodness. That Earthshaker just got obliterated. That was Necro Army and Forge Spirits, and that's a dead Earthshaker. Oh my goodness, how terrible must it be to be those supports. Cold Snap, the Earthshaker couldn't do anything. The stun duration is too much for him to get off any of his spells. And now in bottom, Invasion definitely can't go. Without the Fissure and without anybody else set up, Immunity are looking for a trade. Will they even be able to find it, however? Their Mirana and Razor just don't push fast enough, especially with a little bit remaining on those Necrobooks. They'll be able to take this tier 2 probably before they time out, or at the very least, right after. And well, they are going to keep this tower alive for a little bit longer, but with the Venomancer wall of wards, they're hardly going to get a trade at all, as into mid they go. And Jetburst and Ice Blast going to land as FCFC is tagged with an arrow. And, well, Wraith King now with the Blink Dagger might be pursuing, looking for the Tower Deny. He's going to not find the Tower Deny, as Nature's Prophet gets the last hit with the Treants in the Necro Book. We're going to drop a Meteor on those Necro units and trees. And Invoker going to find himself a little bit of gold as well as experience through that. Not something I really like seeing, as the Nature's Prophet just kind of lets his Necronomicons die. That's actually quite significant. Makes up for the fact that they didn't get the deny. Invoker now sitting on 4,000 gold. He can go for whatever the heck he wants to, and it's just going to be a one-shot BKB. He casually buys that one up. Kiilstofte is going to be fighting incredibly effectively with the Necronomicons on the ground, as well as the double Forge Spirits and maxed out Exhort Sunstrikes and Meteors that he's going to be dropping. There's very little immunity you're going to do to survive up against that. We are going to have the tier 2 tower fall down in bottom in the meantime while that tier 1 tower is going down, but the pushing lineup's getting pushed. Nature's Prophet and Pugna have not come to relevancy yet. The Pugna is backing up from his Agnum Scepter and going for a Necro Book. I think this is kind of a sign of desperation coming out for immunity. They need to take these towers, they need to take them quick. Nature's Prophet also working for him, but this Blade Mail, it hasn't done anything for the Nature's Prophet. And honestly, I don't think this is a game to go for it. Blade Mail, you want to go for it when the enemy supports, you can man fight up against them and get some kills and play aggressive early. But his playstyle, although being aggressive early, hasn't found himself any kills, and more than anything, has just gotten him killed. Walking into the Evoker, finding himself in awkward corners of the map. It's just not working out for them. Necronomicon as well as double Forge Spirits on the ground. They need more counter push down here in this tier 2. They're not going to find it. Tier 2 tower is dead. They're just not in position to defend, and they're just going to give it up. Pugna, this is not how your Pugna strats want to work. Razor going for the BKB. He's going to be fighting and standing in the middle of fights a lot more effectively. But even then, the physical damage coming out from Invasion is not so lackluster, as they do have the Necronomicon army as well as the Wraith King that can stand in the front lines and just click you, and they're going to go for the tier 3 tower. They're not in position, they need the Earthshaker back, but he has no mana down wherever he is. He's currently back in base, but they'll probably be able to take a tier 3, even though Kiilstofte is going to need Tag Guide Arrow. That might end things, but he's going to be fine. No follow-up, 4-staff him away for good measure. Invasion are looking really solid. They're going to TP back to defend against this Nature's Prophet split push. That has put quite a bit of damage on this tier 2. Ancient Apparition, not the greatest hero at working with split pushing. But then again, it is going to be enough. Cold Feet's up one of the Treants for good measure. Okay, so this item pickup on the Earthshaker is probably one of the biggest ones we've seen on the side of immunity for quite some time. With the exception being that BKB on the Razor, it's pretty much nothing coming into comparison. Unfortunately, Earthshaker only has level 1 Echo Slam, but if he catches all of the Necro units as well as the Forge Spirits and a couple of heroes, it might cost him his life, but then again, Shaitan, he's going to find a good initiation. Or will he? BKB on the Invoker, he's going to land on the FCFC as the hookshot's going to land onto an enemy hero. Wraith King is going to lose his ultimate now, but the Earthshaker's also going to die as they're just cleaning up heroes. Clockwork is also going to fall as with the BKB. Invoker's sitting in the middle with 168 damage stolen. He's just going to get right-clicked down by Chains. Chains is going to find himself a double, and now they're looking for more FCFC caught inside the woods. That's going to be a 3-for-4 exchange. Triple kill for Chains. The only surviving hero from Invasion is the Venomancer, who didn't show his face in the fight, and lucky enough for them, we'll hold on to the gem. Not a convincing T-fight win, as Razor also kills himself a Necronomicon unit. Chains almost dies straight up to that. Invoker wouldn't be entirely surprised to see the buyback Sunstrike on the Chains, but then again, it's just so unlikely that he'll be able to land it. Either way. You know, a very messy engagement. Had Clockwork found himself a clean initiation there, I would have thought that Invasion got a better fight there. But yeah, Invoker, he just man-fought up against the Razor when he had no damage at all, so he probably should have broke that link. I think the 4-staff, it's on the Clockwork, if I'm not mistaken. They probably could have broken that by turning the Invoker and then 4-staffing away. I'm not sure at what point in the fight that the Clockwork died, and if he would have been able to do that. But that would have saved them a lot of turmoil in that last fight, and probably saved the Invoker's life. Another smoke purchased by the Earthshaker. He does show off his Blink Dagger in that last engagement and just instantly dies. But this time they have a little bit more chance to actually take a fight on their terms. Yep. So, Nature's Prophet, now with his Necronomicon number 1, he is going to work towards number 2. If he didn't die, he'd probably have it. He's going to TP up towards top and just get the rat going. Waiting awkwardly while he waits for Nature's Call to get back off of cooldown, and there you go. We're going to see some tree babies very shortly. Maybe. Yeah, there we go. There's the trees, and it's going to start jungling up. Nature's Prophet just observing the map and being Big Daddy across the entirety of it. We are going to look for a hookshot. No, it hits a mud golem! Clockwork does not land it. Oh, that's so unfortunate. Clockwork, it just isn't your day, right, Ghost? He hasn't been able to find really anything to connect, and it's just so unfortunate. I think he's had like 2 good hookshots this game. I hate to flame, but man, it's just not cutting it for you. Whether it's ping issues or just having an off day, Clockwork is a hero that you really can't have an off day with. You need to be on point with those hookshots, and right now Ghost just isn't. Their fights would go a lot better if he was. Yeah, not to say that he's doing awful, but involved in 9 kills. More than Nature's Prophet can say, but then again, he's died twice and his hookshots have just been Meh, at best. Well, the standoff is going to now be up in top lane. We might be seeing a pretty big 5-on-5 engagement soon enough, but the Pugna's time to shine is really all but over. 2 BKBs on the Invoker as well as the Wraith King are going to negate a lot of what the Pugna is bringing to the table. Wraith King is going to have his ultimate to get off pretty reliably, and once the Clockwork gets his, this Pugna just can't do anything. Yeah, especially if he gets hookshotted or Blink Wraithfire blasted up. Pugna is going to be more or less a non-factor in the next couple of engagements. Yep, so we are going to have an Invis Rune on the Clockwork, potentially going to find somebody out. If he finds the Pugna or the Earthshaker, those are going to be your ideal targets to go on. But the Nature's Prophet is also looking pretty tasty here. You better not miss anything. Yep, just battery assault. No, the cogs! How the hell did those cogs bounce him out? I have no idea what that was, but I thought for sure that was a dead hero. He didn't even need to use the cogs there, but in the end, that's going to bounce him out. What? Dota is a fickle thing. Wow. So apparently when you're inside a little box like this, don't use your cogs, because they'll bounce Nature's Prophets out. I don't know why that happened, but apparently it did. Well, there you have it. I'm not going to put that on the Clockwork, but Cynical is still going to die one way or another. Ancient Apparition, Ice Blast, it's going to land through. He's going to try to Blade Melt. Yeah, that's going to be his death. Ancient Apparition takes a little bit of damage, but it's going to be damage of victory as he finds himself another kill. We are going to have Cold Feet onto the Call of the Dendrochron Treant there. It's into the Roshan pit. It looks like a Measure and Go-Go. They have the Necronomicon popped, and now Chilling Touch, as well as some Medallion popped onto Roshan. They're going to be able to take this pretty quickly. And it doesn't look like Immunity are going to do the same thing they did last time. They're just going to let this one go. I think their chances of fighting the Roshan pit are better now with the Blink Dagger and the Earthshaker, but it's just too fast for them to do anything. Yeah, Medallion, there goes Roshan. Kesakimba is going to find himself yet another Aegis. Getting dangerously close to the Scythe of Vice. This Invoker is still at a scary level of farm. Had he not died, it would have been ridiculous. Midas is going to be used, and then only about 1,000 gold away before he has the completed Scythe. Maelstrom going to be completed on the Wraith King after the BKB. This is a pretty standard Wraith King build. That's going to serve him nicely. If he jumps in the middle of a fight with a Mjolnir charge onto him, he is going to be doing a lot of damage, directly or indirectly. And it's something that Immunity have to deal with. With 1800 health, they're going to have to shoot through him in twice. They have a Razor, which is probably their best hero in order to deal with him. Link him up, just get in his face, and try to force him out of the fights. And it will give the Razor a lot of damage. And really, in these team fights, it's been Chains that's kind of their saving grace. With the BKB as well as the mech, he can stay in the middle of the fight for quite extended times. We are going to have the push coming down in bottom from Invasion. I'm not sure if they're going to fully commit to this, and, well, it doesn't look like they will. TP is going to come back up top to counteract the push coming out from the Nature's Prophet, and slow and steady is going to be the game plan for Invasion. They should be pretty comfortable in doing so. Despite the Clockwork not scaling incredibly well in the late game, especially for not landing those hooks, it's still enough, especially when you have a Wraith King Invoker that are getting farmed. Mirana, in theory, can turn just into a core later on, but Risk has no items really of merit. Just the Power Treads earn. It's fine for a support Mirana, but again, it's not. As they find Nature's Prophet, that hookshot, although not landing directly on Nature's Prophet, is going to be enough. Looking for the Sunstrike, it's not going to land very heavily on him, but the Ancient Apparition Ice Blast is going to find him directly in that circle, and that's a dead Nature's Prophet. Yeah, that's the global ganking potential that I was talking about in the draft, so I'm not crazy. They just haven't been able to find it very much. This tier 2 tower in mid is going to be the next one on their docket. This is a Tornado from the Invoker going to land on little to nothing. With the maxed out Invoke, he can be pretty liberal with his spell usage. Although nothing compared to a Invoker with the Aghanim Scepter on top of it. He can still use pretty much whatever he wants, and now he's going to have his normal rotation back. He has the Scythe of Vice if he wants to complete it, but it looks like they're going to fight beforehand as they jump straight on the Razor. This is a great way to start the fights. He pops a PKB, but the Ancient Apparition Ice Blast is still going to work onto him. They don't have enough damage to focus him down, and FZFZ gets 84 damage stolen. The tier 2 tower is not going to be focused down immediately, but it's still going to be put enough pressure on Thor immunity can't ignore this. Nature's Prophet's going to be back before this next pipe, but with the pipe mech popped, they can just take this pretty straight up. It's not the greatest pushing power without the Necronomicon as well as Forge Spirits on the ground, or rather just the Necronomicon. But there goes the Forge Spirits, and tier 2 tower is going to fall. Necronomicon also committed for this finally. They probably should have done that a little bit earlier, but there you go. Wraith King finds himself a kill in the tower. I don't think they're going to commit for any more. But then again, they don't really have to. Wraith King getting close to his Mjolnir. We have an Invoker that can snag up his Scythe of Vice. That's going to be completed on the Courier. No, it's not a Scythe of Vice at all. It's going to be a Scotty. For Keswick Imba, he's right-clicking pretty darn hard, especially if he gets Alacrity on himself, as well as maxed Exhort Orbs. Keswick Imba is going to be hitting like a truck, and, well, I suppose it's going to be very useful. I would have liked to see the Scythe a little bit more, but I don't know, it's definitely not a bad item choice. Whatever floats your boat, Kiilstofte, I think it's completely fine. When you're this far ahead in the gold department, you can afford a little liberty in your item choices. It's going to tank him up and keep him in the middle of team fights a lot more effectively. And there's your completed Scotty. Maybe he just wants those cool ice effects on his auto attacks. You never know. But yeah, the Razor being kited around is always a good thing for invasion, so the extra slow is going to be very useful. And yeah, let's see, how hard is he hitting? At least 200 a pop, and then with the added exhort damage, that's 21 times 3, but he's going to get caught out here. The Scotty's going to help him tank up, but when you're caught between too many enemy heroes like that 4, it's going to be too much. He doesn't have the Aegis available. Not sure where he lost it or if it just timed out. I think it just timed out. No, he actually lost it in the last engagement, so he's going to die. Ancient Apparition Ice Blast is going to land, but oh, that's unfortunate for the Invoker. Wasn't able to pop the BKB in time, which is actually very weird because Echo Slam wasn't committed for that. It wasn't available for the Earthshaker, so it was just a blink enchant after a fissure, so he might have had a little bit of an opening. But now with the double Necrobook on the ground, coming out from immunity, they're going to find a tier 2 tower of their own, just like that. Big opening for them, although they're still a long way from coming back into this game. Let's see, they're going to link up okay, but not land the arrow onto him. The BKB forced out by Chains. He's going to BKB and then turn on to Wraith King, but the link already spent. Wraith King's going to man fight. Although he's losing a lot of his mana, those Necrobooks doing work. He has to back off, as they do have a Clockwork Initiation onto creeps. Now he's caught out by the lifelink, and with 84 or 56 damage stolen by the Razor, he's not going to be whipping as hard as I thought he would. And the Clockwork's still going to be surviving. Battery Assault working. The arrow's going to fly, I don't think, onto anybody. The Clockwork doesn't find anything. The Pugna gets the tier 2 tower, and that's just going to be an Invoker kill for tier 2, or an Invoker kill and a tier 2 going the way of immunity, excuse me. Yet again, I'm gonna take this time after that last team fight to, oh my goodness, yeah, there we go. There's the camera to take a look at the graphs. Haven't done that throughout the entirety of the game. Sorry about that, guys, but as you can see, it's been pretty much in the favor of invasion throughout the entirety of it. Not even sure if immunity had an advantage at any point. And, well, it's gonna dip back into their favor, but still 14,000, 12,000 in gold and experience, respectively, is going to be wonderful for them. Yeah, before I go further, just making sure that everything is working on stream, and indeed it is. So we are going to continue watching away at these two teams to have at each other. We are going to have Keswick Imba with his Scotty still being pretty tanky. I want to see how much damage he's doing with the, Alacrity on himself, as well as the Exhort Orbs. Oh my goodness. So that's going to be plus 63 damage, plus 80 damage. That's half a rapier for you on the Invoker, plus the damage from the extra attack speed. That's very significant damage. And he can just keep that self on him in the fights and just right-click people down. Very, very potent. If he has all of those things aligning. He's currently investing a little bit into Wex in these fights, which is fine for him. Just currently sitting on the Alacrity Invoke. But that'll work out nicely. I think he just goes for Daedalus next on the Invoker. To heck with the lockdown that you get from Scythe of Vice, if you can click this hard, it's pretty potent. He's going to be hitting kind of like a stacked Mirana. And this Mirana is anything but. Yeah, Invasion are going to exercise a little bit of caution here after that last fight. The Invoker's the one that they can't get picked off. Anybody else dying isn't a big deal, and that's no slight to them, but it's just how it is this game. Pipe on the Venomancer as well as the Mechanism, he's also pretty important for the team fight, but they're not going to initiate anything just yet. Nature's Prophet has a Treant inside the pit, although that's going to time out before the Roshan timer is actually there. He'll probably sustain that. Smoke coming out from Invasion. Haystrin is on the ground and will be picked up. Although not spotted out by a ward from immunity, it might help them find out the Pugna, because Keswick leading the charge. He does have a Tornado to start things off. In a Cold Snap or whatever he wants. There's the Tornado. Necrobooks are jumped, and now the hookshot going to land onto the Catapult, but it doesn't matter, as I believe is going to be dropped down. The Necrobook is going to be killed and does a lot of damage to the Ancient Apparitions. Now they focus down onto the Earthshaker. Earthshaker is going to fall in return, and now onto the creep wave they go as Invasion find themselves a very big opening. 30 seconds without an Earthshaker is huge. Their Necro Books are not on the ground, but now they are, and up to the high ground they go. As they blink forward, they find a Wraithfire Blast. It's dodged by the BKB of Change. He's linking up to FCFC. They need to force staff him out to do anything. Chase doesn't get that much damage as he's taking a lot from the Invoker, just running him down with the Scotty, completely zoned out. They're looking now for the tier 3 towers. The Razor's going to be brought down by the Invoker. Sunstrike, well placed by him. Okay, kills the Necro Book, and he's going to take like half of his damage. No big deal. But the tier 3 tower is going to be focused down at the end of the day by Invasion, and there you go. Wraith King finds himself that. They're splitting their focus and instead go for the melee barracks. This is going to be wonderful for them. His arrow lands onto a creep. It's dead. Not a chance. The Razor needs to be here. As a tornado thrown out by the Invoker, they jump in onto the poor Pugna here. Is just going to be cleaved down by the Wraith King. Wraith King does not have mana for his ultimate and doesn't have stick charges anymore. Venomancer ultimate deployed for one of the first times in this game that I've actually seen. That's going to be a double kill for FCFC. As now they cogs into Nature's Prophet. He's not going to down step back that one and blink into the cogs from from the Wraith King. He doesn't have a care in the world. He's going to lose his ultimate under the tier 4s, but Intel, he has no mana. He could have gone for that if he wanted to, but it's just going to be barracks. He's going to instead restrain himself. FCFC taking the responsible path. The Shaitan is going to call GG in this game, one of the best of two. No big surprises there after a fight like that. It was kind of only a matter of time before Invasion were going to take this one, as FCFC gets tagged by Narrow as the Ancient explodes. But it was just such a huge advantage for them. The skill shots weren't panning out for either team for the most part, but the Invoker was on point throughout that entirety of the game. I would like to see a Sunstrike that missed. I think there was like 2. Other than that, the Invoker had the game of his life. 662 GPM, 10-2 and 7. Can't ask for much more from your Invokers. So yeah, that is going to round out game 1, but game number 2 is coming up very shortly, so hope to see you soon, and well, into there we go. The next lobby should be up momentarily. Thanks for watching.